General Hospital spoilers reveal that the entertainment industry thrives on anticipation, image, and momentum. Yet it also exists in a realm where one editorial decision can alter the trajectory of an actor's career in a split second. Such is the case with Nicholas Alexander Chavez. The gifted young actor once hailed as the future face of daytime television and a rising star in Hollywood. In what many fans and insiders are calling an unexpected and disheartening development, Chavez has reportedly been cut from the final version of I Know What You Did Last Summer, a film adaptation that was supposed to mark a major turning point in his transition from daytime television to feature film. The announcement has not only sent shockwaves through his fan base but has also left a trail of uncertainty about his career path moving forward. With the loss of a high-profile film role that had the potential to launch Chavez into a broader spotlight, questions now swirl about whether this setback could serve as a catalyst for something entirely different, namely, his return to General Hospital as Spencer Cassadine, a role that made him a household name among soap opera devotees. The industry is no stranger to harsh turns, and while the news of Chavez's removal from the film might seem like a closed door, for many fans it feels like the opening of another one. Chavez's involvement in I Know What You Did Last Summer was initially met with excitement and optimism. Slated to appear alongside Lola Tongue of The Summer I Turned Pretty, his participation in the movie signaled a deliberate effort to stretch his acting muscles and expand into new territory. It was the kind of calculated move many young actors make when they're ready to break out of the soap opera mold and enter the mainstream. But in a candid statement made by director Jennifer K. Tin Robinson, it was revealed that Chavez's scenes, along with those of Tongue, were cut from the final version due to pacing issues and a shift in the film's overall vision. This was not, Robinson emphasized, a reflection of the actors' performances but rather a creative decision made in the editing room. Even so, the impact was undeniable. For Chavez, the removal meant that a high-visibility opportunity had vanished, and with it, the momentum that often accompanies a breakout film appearance. Suddenly, instead of stepping onto the national cinematic stage, Chavez finds himself at a professional crossroads. This moment of uncertainty, however, may contain the seeds of a dramatic and thrilling comeback. With his film debut now indefinitely postponed, speculation is mounting that Chavez could return to General Hospital as early as August. While there has been no official confirmation from ABC or Chavez's camp, multiple clues suggest that the timing could be ideal for a reintroduction of Spencer Cassadine into the soap's central narrative. Since Spencer's off-screen exit, fans have repeatedly expressed a deep desire for closure, or better yet, resurrection. The character's absence has left a palpable void in Port Charles, particularly as the Cassadine legacy continues to evolve with dangerous intrigue, family betrayal, and hidden agendas. A return now would not only satisfy long-simmering fan demand but would also reinvigorate the show's dynamic with a beloved and complex character at the center of multiple unresolved storylines. Furthermore, from a career strategy standpoint, returning to GH could offer Chavez the stability and platform he needs to rebuild his momentum. While a feature film might provide global visibility, soap operas offer daily exposure and an intensely loyal audience base. For an actor seeking to maintain visibility, connection with fans, and critical relevance, General Hospital remains an ideal foundation. It's also a space where Chavez is known, respected, and trusted. His Emmy-winning portrayal of Spencer was lauded for its emotional depth, vulnerability, and unpredictability. Unlike a single film appearance, his work on GH allowed for long-form character development and a deep bond with the audience, a bond that still exists, even in his absence. His return would not feel like regression but rather redemption, a reassertion of his unique position in a medium that helped shape him. If Chavez does indeed return in August, the storyline possibilities are endless. Spencer's presumed death could easily be rewritten as a cover-up, a kidnapping, or a desperate act of self-preservation, all well within the soap opera genre's tradition of resurrection. His reappearance could spark feuds, reunions, and emotional upheaval throughout the Cassadine and Corinthos families. Trina, who has struggled to move on, could be faced with unimaginable decisions. Laura, his grandmother, might be forced to reconcile her own past choices in protecting or condemning Spencer. And the larger web of Port Charles politics could be turned upside down by his sudden return. Particularly if Spencer returns not as the conflicted youth who left, but as a hardened, strategic man shaped by loss and survival. More importantly, Chavez's reemergence could signify something deeply meaningful for daytime television itself. In an era where soaps constantly battle for viewership and relevance, the return of a beloved actor under dramatic circumstances would generate buzz, press, and potentially ratings. It would also reaffirm the idea that daytime dramas remain fertile ground for nuanced storytelling, career development, and emotional resonance. Chavez's journey, from rising soap star to feature film hopeful and potentially back again, reflects the modern actor's precarious reality. And yet, it also showcases the resilience required to endure the industry's highs and lows. His story, like Spencer's, is not yet finished. In many ways, the detour from Hollywood's red carpet could bring him home to the soundstages that first embraced him, where unfinished business, both on and off screen, awaits. Fans of General Hospital remain hopeful. They scour spoilers, parse casting news, and speculate on cryptic Instagram posts. For them, Chavez is more than just another actor. He is a symbol of youthful energy, charisma, and emotional gravity. His connection to Spencer Cassadine is not incidental, it's iconic. His possible return is not simply about nostalgia, but about restoring balance to a story that feels incomplete without him. While the film world may have placed him on pause, the world of Port Charles may be preparing for a new chapter. One that brings its prodigal prince back into the fold, scarred but stronger, uncertain but essential. In the unpredictable realm of soap operas, nothing is ever final, not even death, not even exit. And so as August approaches, the winds of possibility stir. Nicholas Alexander Chavez may have lost a film role, but in doing so, he may have reignited the path back to the role that made him unforgettable. The camera might have stopped rolling in Hollywood, but in Port Charles, it just might be ready to start again. When Spencer makes his shocking return to Port Charles, the entire landscape of General Hospital begins to shift, especially for Trina, whose life had taken a very different turn during Spencer's absence. Having recently ended her brief but publicized romance with Kai, a charming yet ultimately incompatible new face in her life, Trina is emotionally raw and vulnerable, yet more self-assured than ever before. The wounds left by Spencer's disappearance have never fully healed, and though she had tried to move on, the echo of their past continued to haunt her. Now, with Spencer standing in front of her once again, alive, changed, and more intense than ever, a fire reignites between them. One that neither time nor distance could extinguish. Unlike the tentative steps they once took in the early days of their relationship, this time the connection between Trina and Spencer is undeniable, electric, and instantly rekindled. The chemistry that once burned beneath layers of hurt, misunderstanding, and youthful hesitation now roars to life with startling clarity. The moment they lock eyes, it's as if the world stops spinning, and for the first time in a long while, both Trina and Spencer know exactly what, and who, they want. There is no more running, no more games, and no more pretending. What they feel is real, raw, and urgent. Spencer's return doesn't just reopen old wounds, it redefines who Trina has become. Having grown in independence and confidence during his absence, Trina is no longer the girl he left behind. She is a woman who knows her worth and her desires, and she's no longer afraid to claim them. This evolution in Trina's identity becomes a catalyst for the evolution in their relationship. The cautious, emotionally guarded dynamic of the past gives way to something bolder, more honest, and undeniably passionate. It's not just a reunion, it's a transformation. The past pain, the longing, and even the mistakes now serve as the foundation for something far more explosive than either of them ever expected. As Spencer re-enters her life, he does so not just with regret, but with a magnetic urgency. The weight of everything he's endured while away, the betrayals, the isolation, the near-death experience, has hardened him, sharpened him. and forced him to face the truth of what, and who, he values most. That truth is Trina. And this time, Spencer isn't willing to let her slip through his fingers. His return isn't just about righting past wrongs, it's about claiming a future he once feared he wasn't worthy of. His every glance, touch, and word toward her now carries the intensity of a man who has lost and found everything in a single heartbeat. The town of Port Charles begins to buzz with speculation and curiosity as the two are spotted together, not as hesitant exes cautiously navigating a second chance, but as a couple whose scorching connection is impossible to ignore. Trina and Spencer quickly become the talk of the town, and not just because of their history. Their newfound intensity is undeniable. They are no longer two young souls caught in the throes of romantic confusion, they are a pair on fire, fully aware of their power together. From whispered conversations in art galleries to stolen kisses behind closed doors, their romance takes shape in full force, pulling them deeper into each other with every passing day. But beneath the surface of this passionate reunion lies something darker, obsession. Not the dangerous kind aimed at each other, but the kind that surrounds them. The heat of their connection begins to draw attention, not all of it welcome. As their relationship intensifies, it starts to awaken jealousy, resentment, and unease among those who had grown comfortable with Spencer gone and Trina moving on. The fact that their bond seems to reassert itself so quickly and with such undeniable heat sets off alarms among rivals and old enemies alike. What started as a love story is now fast becoming a battleground for influence, legacy, and control. The adjustment period for Spencer and Trina as a couple doesn't come quietly. They face not only emotional baggage and lingering doubts, but the reality that their powerful chemistry now makes them a lightning rod for the chaos brewing around them. Their love becomes both a refuge and a target, as they navigate the burning intensity of their revived romance. They must also confront external threats, from the dangerous secret Spencer may still be keeping, to the people in Trina's life who see her happiness with him as a threat to their own plans. This is no longer the slow burn love story it once was. This is a collision of fire and fate. The emotional temperature between Trina and Spencer is rising by the hour, turning every interaction between them into something blistering and unforgettable. Their love is now defined not by hesitance or fear, but by heat, clarity, and the boldness to embrace what once seemed impossible. Spencer's return didn't just change the trajectory of his own life, it set fire to Trina's world, burning away old doubts and leaving only the fierce, undeniable truth. Together, they are unstoppable, undeniable, and hotter than ever. And if Port Charles can't handle that, let it burn. The winds of change are sweeping through Port Charles, and at the center of it all stands Spencer, no longer just a prince of a fractured legacy, but now a force of reckoning and transformation. His return has not only reignited an intense, impassioned love story with Trina, but it has also subtly, and profoundly, altered the dynamics between the younger generation, particularly between Trina and Jocelyn. What once seemed like parallel paths have begun to intertwine with new tension, new purpose, and a shared sense of redemption. A new adjustment is unfolding, one not just of relationships, but of identity and loyalty, and Spencer, perhaps unknowingly, has become the catalyst that drives it all forward. Jocelyn, fiercely independent and previously entangled in dangerous layers of deception and resentment stemming from a fractured relationship with Sonny and the shadowy web of the WSB, finds herself slowly untangling from the chaos with unexpected help. Spencer, the very man once written off as selfish and reactive, is now emerging as the unlikely anchor not only for Trina's heart, but also for Jocelyn's stability. His return has forced Jocelyn to confront not just the threats looming around her, but also the version of herself she became while Spencer was gone, hardened, impulsive, and at times recklessly defiant. Spencer, changed by survival and sharpened by love, extends a hand of clarity not as a savior, but as a mirror to her own hidden turmoil. And in that act, something rare and fragile begins to rebuild: trust. Trina, too, finds herself undergoing a significant recalibration. Once torn between loyalty to her best friend and the trauma of Spencer's disappearance, she now stands at a crossroads where old alliances are being redefined. Her romance with Spencer is no longer something hidden in shadows or dulled by fear. It's vivid, consuming, and impossibly real. Yet even in its fire, it requires a delicate balance. The evolution of her bond with Jocelyn, once marked by shared struggles and unspoken grief, now demands honesty, maturity, and the courage to adjust. It is in this space that the adjustment takes root. Trina and Jocelyn are no longer the same girls who once cried in dorm rooms and stood side by side in war zones of the heart. They are women in transition, forced to reassess who they are to each other and what boundaries they must now respect. What makes this transformation so explosive is that it unfolds not in grand gestures, but in the subtle shifts of trust, protection, and emotional realignment. Spencer's decision to help both Trina and Jocelyn, not out of guilt, but out of understanding, is what transforms the story. He doesn't rush in with solutions, but instead offers presence, strategy, and the kind of intuitive support that only someone who has lived through darkness can provide. His role isn't just romantic or familial, it becomes essential. He becomes a touchstone, a compass, and eventually, a reckoning force for both women. This new layer of storytelling reinvents Spencer in a way few saw coming. Gone is the impulsive rebel chasing shadows of legacy. In his place stands a young man with intention, depth, and fire that no longer burns wild, but burns with purpose. He's no longer reacting to trauma, he's channeling it. And in doing so, he uplifts those around him. The narrative no longer positions Spencer as merely the romantic lead or the troubled heir. It now builds him as the core of a new triad of resilience, identity, and change. His interactions with Trina and Jocelyn become the threads weaving a more intricate and emotionally charged fabric of Port Charles's next generation. More importantly, this shift hints at deeper undercurrents within the show's future arcs. With Jocelyn possibly stepping away from the dark entanglements of the WSB and Trina rediscovering her power within love rather than against it, the stage is set for something seismic. Spencer's return isn't just personal, it's structural. It adjusts relationships, alters pacing, and unlocks new possibilities. His quiet alliance with both women becomes a narrative accelerant. Through him, past traumas begin to dissolve. Through him, new battles are defined not just by vengeance or pain, but by emotional evolution and psychological maturity. And this adjustment is not subtle. It's loud in the silence between Trina and Jocelyn. It's powerful in the trust Jocelyn begins to rebuild. It's radical in the way Trina claims her happiness without apology. The audience feels the burn, the pull, and the inevitable explosion coming, because Spencer, the once reluctant prince of drama, is now the nucleus of renewal. And in his orbit, everyone must evolve, or be left behind. As the story unfolds, what began as a singular shock, Spencer's return, transforms into a sweeping adjustment across Port Charles. It recalibrates alliances, forces emotional accountability, and challenges the very definitions of love, loyalty, and legacy. Spencer helping Trina and Jocelyn isn't just a subplot, it's the ignition point of a larger, more profound shift. And it proves, perhaps more than anything else, that the story of Spencer Cassadine is no longer just about who he used to be, but about who he dares to become. When Spencer finally returns to Port Charles, it is more than just the revival of a beloved character, it signals the rekindling of an entire dynasty. The Cassadine legacy, long steeped in wealth, treachery, and secrets hidden within the cold stone walls of Windermere, suddenly feels alive again. Spencer's return is not quiet or symbolic, it is immediate, consequential, and deeply tied to the changing tides of power surrounding the Cassadine name. What should have been a triumphant reclaiming of heritage takes a sharp and dangerous turn, because while the heir may have returned, the empire is no longer what it once was. In a stunning twist that sends shockwaves through both the family and the town, Sidwell, the calculating and enigmatic force from the shadows, has purchased Windermere. The fortress that once served as the soul of the Cassadine estate now sits under the control of a man who has no blood claim, no emotional tie, and no intention of respecting its legacy. For Spencer, this betrayal is nothing short of sacrilege. Windermere isn't just a piece of land, it is history, memory, trauma, an inheritance carved into stone. The fact that it now belongs to Sidwell is a violation he cannot accept, and one that forces him into an impossible position: take back what is his, or lose his identity forever. But before he can act alone, another ghost from the past returns: Nicholas. Nicholas, long thought to be in exile, disgrace, or even presumed dead, emerges from the shadows not to make peace, but to reclaim what he believes he still has a right to. Yet Nicholas returns changed, less a prince in exile, more a king hardened by betrayal and survival. His motivations are no longer pure, if they ever were, and his eyes are fixed not only on regaining his former power, but on rewriting what the Cassadine name will mean going forward. This time, he isn't operating alone, he intends to bring Spencer with him. What follows is an alliance between father and son that no one in Port Charles saw coming. Spencer, initially hesitant and wounded by Nicholas's past lies, finds himself drawn into the orbit of a larger plan, one aimed at restoring Cassadine dominance not through tradition, but through calculated collaboration. Their union is fragile, born of shared outrage and necessity rather than forgiveness. Yet there's no denying the effect: together, Spencer and Nicholas command a presence that cannot be ignored. With Windmere under enemy control and the Cassadine name on the brink of dilution, the pair begins to strategize not just a reclamation, but a resurgence. Sidwell, however, is not merely a buyer of property. His acquisition of Windmere is tactical, symbolic, and intentionally provocative. He knows what the estate means to the Cassadines, and he uses it as leverage to insert himself deeper into the power structures of Port Charles. The castle becomes a chess piece, and the game quickly spirals into something more dangerous. Secrets from the past begin to surface, some involving Victor, others tracing back to Helena, and it becomes clear that Windmere holds more than just bitter memories. Hidden beneath the floors and within locked vaults may be information, evidence, and weapons of manipulation that could dismantle lives or fortify empires. The partnership between Spencer and Nicholas starts to evolve under pressure. What begins as tactical cooperation becomes something far more layered, a confrontation between legacy and evolution, vengeance and redemption. Nicholas sees in Spencer a younger version of himself, but wiser, more emotionally grounded, and less willing to sacrifice humanity for ambition. Spencer, in turn, watches Nicholas with equal parts admiration and skepticism, torn between the son he's been and the man he wants to become. Their interactions become the heartbeat of a new Cassadine saga, one where father and son are no longer on opposing sides, but neither are they fully aligned. Their joint mission to remove Sidwell from Windmere draws in allies and enemies alike. Ava, Laura, Trina, even Valentine, all are pulled into the gravitational force of a Cassadine family slowly rebuilding, brick by strategic brick, while the threat of implosion grows stronger by the day. As their influence rises, so too does the pressure. Spencer must navigate not only the political minefield of reclaiming the Cassadine legacy, but also the emotional fallout of aligning with a father he once swore to abandon. Every decision he makes now carries double weight, for himself and for the name he carries. Nicholas, meanwhile, begins to realize that power reclaimed through manipulation may not be enough to sustain the dynasty if the soul of that dynasty, his son, begins to reject its foundation. Sidwell, never far from the center of chaos, counters with his own moves. He invites guests to Windmere, transforming the once sacred castle into a playground of corruption. His reach begins to extend into city council dealings, financial control, and psychological warfare. But Spencer and Nicholas are no longer pawns. Together, they begin to play the game on Sidwell's level, manipulating media, public opinion, and even leveraging long-lost Cassadine secrets to turn the tide. And yet, at the heart of this war for legacy lies something deeper, a question of identity. What does it mean to be a Cassadine in a world that no longer fears them? What does legacy matter when the symbols of that legacy are bought and sold like real estate? As Spencer and Nicholas grapple with those questions, they must also face the inevitable truth: to preserve the name, they may have to destroy parts of themselves. The return of Spencer and Nicholas as a duo, not adversaries but uneasy allies, marks a new era in General Hospital. One where the Cassadine dynasty is no longer passive history, but active. Dangerous narrative. One where every step forward could be a trap, every ally a traitor, and every victory the beginning of a new betrayal. Port Charles isn't just witnessing a family reunion, it's witnessing the rebirth of a storm. And at its eye are two Cassadine men, once broken, now burning with purpose. The legacy isn't dead. It's just beginning again, and this time, it's on fire.